want to live a life on fire and on mission. You want to be filled with such conviction and drive that you stop caring about what anyone thinks. You want to face each day alive, authentic, and fully present in every moment. With your wife, with your kids, on the street, at work. You want to bring yourself to the table and to stop bringing the watered down, nice, what everyone wants version of you. You want that self to be a man who is burning in passion for Jesus, unafraid to bring his kingdom to anyone in your path, no matter what it costs you. You want to love the one in front of you without fear, without needing love back, and without reserve. You want to husband well. You want to father well. You want to shepherd your life well. You want to be a safe pillar for anybody around you. You want to experience God for real, to not just believe, but to know that he's got you and that he'll show up on your behalf, that he'll show up through you. You want to get to the end of your race and say, yep, I gave it everything. Jesus, you know I'm all in. And you want to know just how to get there. Welcome to Man, Warrior, King. I'm your host, Matt Hallock. Congratulations. You're among the violent taking the kingdom by force. You're among the chosen answering the call to rise above yourself. You're in the forge being stripped down and strengthened, and you will rise stronger, solid, unshakable. You are a man. You're a warrior. You are a king. I want to take a moment to let you know about the next round of the Ranks of Adullam that is launching at the end of July. It's going to be a powerful 3-month intensive group training program where you and a group of men are going to together dive headlong into what it means to be a kingdom masculine man, where we are going to learn how to walk in confidence and assertiveness. We're going to learn how to come alive in our identity, who God has made us to be. We're going to learn how to relate with our wives well so that we aren't pushing them away, and we're not just being friends, but we're being actually passionately connected with our wives in companionship and desire. And we're going to learn how to connect with Jesus, where we go headlong into hearing God's voice and discovering how to build an intimate connection with him, so that we're not just going through the motions of church, and we're not just going through the motions of reading our Bible for 10 minutes every day or some days and hoping that it does something, but where we actually get to know him as a person and he knows us. And we're going to learn how from that place to walk in miracles, to see people get physically healed as we go, to see people be delivered from demons as we go. We are going to learn together to be well-rounded kingdom men. I want to challenge you to join us. Check it out. The URL is manwarriorking.com/adullam. That's manwarriorking.com/adullam. And adullam is spelled ADULLAM. Enjoy the podcast episode. So if you're just jumping on, I said at the beginning that one of my least favorite things is when the Song of Solomon is taught from a strictly allegorical perspective. And I will say this, I love the Passion Translation, many things about it. I love a lot of what it has to say. For those of you guys who are familiar with it, if you're not familiar with it, it's one of the more recent translations to be published. And I love a lot of it. So much of it is very powerful and kingdom-minded. But a place where I was disappointed by it is that it seems like the translator was very heavily allegorical in the translation of it. And so I was, when I first read through it, I was eagerly waiting for what kind of enlightenment am I going to get regarding marriage from this? And I actually found it to be kind of lacking. So it was a bit disappointing to me, but obviously, yes, it can serve as an allegory for sure. But I think when people go that route and that route alone, if I'm being honest, and I don't have a whole lot of evidence to back this up, but in my opinion, it's just a religious approach to it. It's a shying away from what the church has been very uncomfortable with, which is the topic of sex. It's a shying away from passion and desire and like gut level fire for your spouse. And I just made this point to my wife the other day. Gosh, or was it today? I think it was today. We were talking about this rise in, I'm going to venture onto some shaky current events ground here, so I'm going to be careful with my words. But we were talking about the rise in sexual identity issues and the absolute just extreme surge of everything under the sun, and how all these things are being taught in schools, and our kids are being exposed to sexual acts that I don't want my kids knowing about unless it's coming from their parents. Yeah, they're being exposed to materials that are that are graphically depicting things. They're being exposed to the idea that they may not be a boy or a girl. They might be something different. They may not be either one of those. I even saw a thing about how some kids were being taught that Jesus was non-binary because he loves everybody. And they were being taught that in schools. Like, there's just crazy stuff out there. And I made this point to my wife today. I said, if all this is going on and all we as a church have to offer is the same crap that we've been teaching in churches for the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years, then we have no good alternative to give to people, because all we have taught in the topic of passion and sex in the way that it's meant to be, which is within our marriages, is that you're supposed to wait until you're married. And that's about it. That's all we have to offer in the church. Wait till you're married and then go for it. But nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about how do you actually create desire in your marriage? How do you actually, is it really all that good, or is it taboo and it's a thing that we're kind of embarrassed to talk about? Is it something that we want to be like promoting proudly, or is it something that we are ashamed of and we all secretly like it, but we are afraid to admit it because it's so embarrassing and it's pretty much sinful, but because we're married, we just removed that sin label from it. And so if that atmosphere is all we have to offer, then we have nothing to fight back today's culture with. And it's time that we actually embrace and celebrate and be proud of healthy married sexuality, because we're not going to change anybody's mind if we say you're sinning and also sex itself is kind of sinning too, but we just don't talk about it because we all do it anyway. So I believe not only is this a topic that is massively pertinent to just us as individuals, because this is a realm that many men are feeling pain in, married or not married. A lot of men are feeling pain in it. If you're not married, it could be for a plethora of reasons. If you're married, it's often because you feel like you're not having enough of it. You feel like she doesn't want much of it, whatever. And so if that's all we have to offer as a church, and then we compound that with the theology that the primary purpose of your marriage is only to build your character, and if it's happy, great, but if not, you'll be fine because God cares more about you being holy anyway. And so if it's hard for you, then it's actually good because you're getting stronger. See, that's That's no good in my opinion. So let me throw this at you. So it's funny because I don't really appreciate how the Passion Translation treated the Song of Solomon, but then they go ahead and don't hold anything back about in the book of Proverbs, strangely enough. So this is Proverbs 18:22 from the Passion Translation. Okay. And it says, when a man finds a wife, he has found a treasure, for she is the gift of God to bring him joy and pleasure. Okay. So, and then it goes on talking about, when a divorce happens and things like that. And by the way, please don't let anything about divorce throw condemnation into your mind, your heart, your spirit at all. There is no, that's final. You're destined to always be piteous and miserable, anything like that. All right. So please don't let that be a snare to you. But check out this first part of this verse. When a man finds a wife, he has found a treasure. It doesn't say he has found a thorn in his flesh. Because if we're to go by what those other teachings are, we would think that my wife is a thorn in my flesh, like what Paul said. Right? He said, I have a thorn in my flesh that buffets me, that basically it keeps on pounding me over and over and over again. And yet in my weakness, I'm made strong. And we basically say, my wife is that thorn in my flesh. If we believe in that vein of thinking about marriage, then I dare say you are dishonoring your wife. And you are making her a villain, because in the Bible, that phrase thorn in the flesh, I know it's not said here, but it's basically what we're thinking. In the Bible, that phrase thorn in the flesh is used for enemies of God's people. So we need to do away with that idea of marriage. It's not that it's meant to be difficult and that your wife is meant to give you pain so that you just grow a pair. It's that in order to reach this goal, in order to reach this state of marriage, that your wife bring you joy and pleasure, it's going to require that you become a high value man of character. Becoming a man of character is the steps that it takes to get to the goal of marriage. It's not the goal of marriage itself. Does that make sense? This is only one of a few different proverbs that talk about the blessing of your wife. So we need to embrace the fact that marriage is meant to be joyful and pleasurable. Doesn't mean it can't be hard. It doesn't mean that it will not be a challenge. But it's a challenge that we can rise to the occasion of. We can grow in our character, because when our character is healthy, then our marriage becomes the way God meant for it to be. But what we have believed is that God never meant for our marriage to be this way. And it's actually a way out. It's actually justification for being lazy and playing the victim and feeling like, poor me, poor me, poor me. I'll just, cling to God through the midst of my struggle. And then we throw in there verses like, all those who desire to live godly in Christ Jesus will suffer persecution. And we say, well, then, of course, my marriage is destined to be hard because I want to be godly. And so I'm getting persecuted for it. I'm sorry, that's not what so you're saying that God has given you your wife as your persecutor. That's his goal. So you're saying that she is his enemy and you're on his side, but she's not. Are you going to say that? Now, I know that not all of us have married honorable women of character who love God. I know that. I know that this is not a one size fits all thing. But we have to be careful, regardless of where our wife is. We have to be careful that we don't position ourselves as victims, which is very easy to do. So we have God's desire for marriage here. She is the gift of God to bring joy and pleasure. Look at this. I mean, I had to look for the word pleasure because I knew it was in there. But if you look earlier in Proverbs, I mean, you even say, God's saying, reserve this pleasure for you and your wife alone. Don't share it with another. That's from Proverbs 5. Oh, yeah. And it says, son, drink from her well of pleasure. It says your sex life will be blessed as you take joy and pleasure in the wife of your youth. So there's all of these good things intended by God. Okay. I'm not going to get too deep into all of that. So our marriage is intended to be good. If it's not good, then one or the both of us have some room to grow and become a more of a masculine man or more of a feminine woman. And I will say this, as men, our pursuit of Jesus, our desire to know him, to follow him, to spend time with him, is not what the thing that's going to turn our wife on, as unfortunate as that may be. Our pursuit of Jesus is the thing that will grow our character. It's the thing that we need to thrive. It's the thing that is the source of life for us. But it will not cause her to desire us in that way. It may be part of the picture of creating security for her and stability, which will help with our companionship and her feeling safe, but it's not necessarily going to make her feel desirous. And that's one of the primary misconceptions that we bring with us into the marriage realm, is that if I'm a good enough Christian, not only that, if I'm head and shoulders above the other Christians and I'm out praying for people to be healed and miracles are happening through me, then my wife is going to be attracted to me. And let's just end that misconception once and for all. And it's not because she's bad or unholy. It has no reflection on her character at all. It's just the way that God designed us. That's not what creates desire. And yeah, that's a good point. If they're unaware of this, it'd probably be a deterrent. Right. Yeah, that's right. So we basically need to be men, adult men, over our own well-being, which is where our relationship with Jesus comes into play. And we need to steward that and go after that. But we need to not be looking for gold stars from our wives, or little like her giving us a cookie because we've been so good in that regard. We also need to be adult men and know how to steward our relationship with our wife well, know how to love a woman well. They are two different things, though obviously very much connected inside of us. They are different things that we need to be engaged in. So let's look at Song of Solomon, chapter 1. It starts with the woman talking, and she says, this verse. So first of all, we just see, like, right off the bat, she's full of desire. Okay. So guys, also, I understand this can be a very difficult book to read for men because it causes some pain to rise up in us. Some of the verses I might have been reading from Proverbs can be difficult because they cause some pain to rise up in us if we're not feeling connected with our wives. We're like, oh my gosh, I want that so bad. I wish I had that. And so I just want to acknowledge that this can be difficult. That's not my intention, but my intention is that we face the difficult truths head on and we learn how to change what has been. Okay, so yeah, we see that she has this desire, describing that his love is better than wine. She's not saying, okay, your love's all right, and I'll put up with it because I have to, and I told you I would. Right? So there is a desire there. And she even acknowledges, look at this, like in verse 3 right here, it says, therefore, virgins love you. She's acknowledging that her man is one that would be desired by others. This is not a man, like, this is also a hard truth, you guys. Too often in the Christian church, men, for some reason, can have a tendency to let themselves go. We talk a lot about how women let themselves go, and some men even start to kind of, for lack of a better word, complain about it, about how, my wife let herself go or whatever. She doesn't look pretty for me anymore, or whatnot. But men do the same. And again, we think, well, we love Jesus. We're both Christians. We both want to follow Jesus. We both love him. So that should be enough. We should have so much desire for each other. And my wife should want the heck out of me because of Jesus. Meanwhile, we are not taking care of our appearance, not taking care of our hygiene. We're leaving the door open when we go to the bathroom. We are basically forgetting about how we ever conducted ourselves when we were single and wanted to look like we were on top of our game for whatever woman was around us, or when we were dating and we wanted to impress our wife. We forget about all of that. And it's time we stop. She says, therefore, virgins love you. This man is carrying himself in a way where if she wasn't there, other women would be waiting for him. This even applies to how we take care of our bodies. We should be taking good care of the bodies God gave us. Not just because they're his temple and they're a part of the dominion that we take ownership over, that we steward, but also because we care for our wives. Guys, I have been through seasons where my health has been so bad. It's taken me, I'm not kidding, like minutes, like 7, 8, 9 minutes to bend down and tie my shoes because I've been in so much pain. So there have been times when I just haven't, I've gone out wherever we go in our day, and I haven't tied my shoes. And it actually hurt my wife's feelings. And at the time I hadn't learned what I've learned now. I was immature. I didn't know any better. And I was offended. And I was hurt by the fact that it hurt her feelings. I thought, how could you? Don't you know what I'm going through? And I was so wrong. It hurt her feelings that I didn't care to put as much of myself forward in the best possible way that I could for her sake. I wouldn't tie my shoes because, in essence, she wasn't worth it enough. And in reality, I wasn't worth enough to my own self to tie my shoes, as hard as it was. We dress in a way that we're just throwing clothes on. We don't take care of our bodies. And then we still wonder why our wife doesn't want us anymore. These 4 words should convict us, not make us feel ashamed, but convict us in freedom, like, oh, yeah, okay, I need that. And then this verse 4, this is the woman speaking. She says, draw me after you. Let us run. Let us run. The king has brought me into his chambers. So, excuse me, I've got to let somebody else into the Facebook group because they got the email and wanted to join on this. I was wondering if this topic, they must have gotten in. I was wondering if this topic would entice some people. Says, draw me after you. So the woman speaking to the man, draw me after you, let us run. Basically, let us run together. The king has brought me into his chambers. Okay, this one is hard. Because how often do we find ourselves as men, as husbands, defaulting to our wife's leadership, defaulting to letting her set a tone? It's as if we say, draw me after you. If you have a vision for what you want this week to look like, then sure, I'll follow that vision and I'll make it happen. Wife, if you have a vision for what you want our future to look like, great. You have that vision because I'm busy just trying to make ends meet and work and everything like that. And you can come up with the vision. I see that, Chad. Yeah. So way too often, our marriages become the flip side, the reverse of this, where she's having to draw us along. We let her, like we say, yeah, you be in charge of the kids. You be in charge of what they need. You take care of their spiritual growth. You have all of this initiative for what you want to do that's good for them and everything like that. And we just sit around and let her be in charge of all that. And I'm not saying, like, my wife, I will tell you this. My wife is a fierce and strong woman. Now, I also need to say she is also a weak woman. And because she would want me to say that, she's tired of everybody looking at her and saying, oh, you're so strong. She's actually, and this is for somebody out there too, if you feel like you're married to a strong woman or you've had experience being married to a strong woman or whatever, they are also weak. And that strength needs a man to rise to the occasion, to be strong over that strength, because really she's needing a place to be able to be weak. All right. But also, my wife is a strong woman. And there's so much room. There's so much room to allow them to run with their vision, to go for it. And so often when we say, okay, I want my wife to desire me, that means that she can't have a vision for something. That means that if she's going to go out and take initiative and take the lead in something, I need to be threatened by it because that's actually my job. That's the wrong way to approach this. Strong masculine leadership does not keep the woman's initiative down. Strong masculine leadership says, go, babe, take it, run with whatever's in your heart to do. It is no threat to me because I have my own vision. I have my own initiative. I have my own things that I want to see happen in our family. You pursuing what you want to happen for our family has no threat, no power over my ability to cast vision and lead us. If your wife coming alive into her full identity threatens you, that is your problem, not hers. That just means that you don't have enough gumption or trust in yourself or value in yourself, self-worth, enough of a solid identity to harken back to the DNA of a man. You don't have enough of a solid identity to be unthreatened and secure in yourself. See, such a powerful picture of Jesus is in the story of Jonathan, where he and his armor bearer are going to go and just the two of them kick out the Philistines, just the two of them. And Jonathan is like us in this story, and his armor bearer is like the Holy Spirit in the story. And I could go into that. I'm not going to for the sake of time and getting back on track. But the Holy Spirit tells him, his armor bearer tells him, Jonathan, do whatever's in your heart to do, because I am with you, heart and soul. There is zero insecurity in that. And if we're letting Jesus be our model, he washes us and he glorifies us. He washes us and makes us. He cleanses us as a pure and spotless, glorious bride, a bride to be proud of, a bride that is desirable. And he's not threatened by us rising up into that identity. So neither should we be threatened by our wives rising up into theirs. But in order for us to not be threatened by it, we have a lot of work to do in rising up into our own. And far too often, instead of us doing the hard work of manning up and becoming men and learning confidence and self-worth, we just fight and beg and whine and neediness all over our wife, and we fight to keep them down because it's a threat to us. And I promise you, if you dig in to your identity, you dig into your desires, you cast a vision for your life, you get an idea of where you want to go and where you want to take your family, that is the best way to encourage your wife to follow your lead. So she's asking us, draw me after you. Let's run. Let's go somewhere. Show me some fire in you again. Not only have you let yourself go in your hygiene and how you take care of yourself and all of that, but you let yourself go in your drive for life. And now your time is all spent hovering around me, the wife. Now your time is all spent trying to just make me always 100% of the time pleased and happy and always being available. Instead, I need you to be running somewhere so I can run alongside of you. That's what I see here. And it says this, the king has brought me into his chambers. This is the picture of the kind of man we can be, where we bring our wives into our chambers. And so often in the topic of sex, it's the other way around. And I'm not saying it can't be that way, but so often it's like we feel like we are tiptoeing into a realm that we're lucky to be able to be there. And I hope nothing goes wrong. I hope the stars are aligning perfectly. And I'm kind of sorry for wanting sex, but I do. And so, yeah, it's all just apologetic and timid and tiptoey. But what if we can be the kind of man who we have, like it says, the king, right? So the king in his castle, that's his realm. And we invite our wives into this life that we're building. We invite them into this intimate bedroom relationship that we are building, that we're creating a safe space for. Right? It drastically changes the whole feel. There's so much in this that we've just not gotten. And if you're here this evening and you're feeling like, man, yeah, I didn't get this. I haven't understood these things, then that's okay. That's why we're doing this. And it's why we're not going to settle for it anymore, because we understand that the bad things we've inherited have led us down wrong paths. And now I want to look at this part here, okay? It says, now, admittedly, there's so much that you could study in all of this, to like commentaries and Hebrew culture and things like that, where you probably get a lot more insight than what I'm giving you right now. Okay. And I have not done that right now. I'm just going through this, receiving what the Holy Spirit is revealing. All right. And it's on the more just spiritual connection with him level that I'm going through this at the moment. So if you know more about the details and historical things, then great. But I want to look at just at what the text is saying at the surface. There's interesting things here. She's saying, I'm very dark, but lovely. Do not gaze at me because I'm dark, because the sun has looked upon me. And then it says, for why should I be like one who veils herself? Okay, so we have those three different spots that make it seem like there's this like a little bit of, I don't know, lack of a better word, like shame, some self-consciousness. Like, yes, I'm very dark, but I am lovely still, right? Um, don't look at me because I'm dark, just because the sun has looked on me. She's kind of trying to avoid that fact about herself. And then she says, why should I be like one who veils herself? Why should I cover myself? So there, I could be wrong, but it seems like there's some kind of self-consciousness, some kind of shame here. And I'm not getting at the fact that it's because of, like because of the dark skin. I think there's other things going on here. Okay, so there's that. But then it says, my mother's sons were angry with me. They made me keeper of the vineyards, and my own vineyard I haven't kept. And I know that there's a lot of like symbolism in this book too, things that vineyard can be, a word that means something and sexual and stuff like that. So I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to get it just at the relational, creating desire dynamic, not the nuts and bolts, if you will. So it says, my mother's sons, basically my brothers, are angry with me. They treated me poorly. They made me keeper of the vineyards, and I haven't even taken care of myself. So in this paragraph, what I see here is this bit of this shame or self-consciousness, this brokenness. Don't gaze at me. I'm not proud of who I am in every possible way. There are things about me that are hurt, possibly that aren't even your fault, husband. Things about me that have needed to be mended, that I haven't had a chance to mend because I've been so busy being mistreated. I've been so busy not being seen for who I am. I've been so busy being hurt, whether it's by family or by people or just by my own thoughts. And I've brought into this realm of marital intimacy, I've brought this past pain and brokenness. And there's a question here. There's a question. Will you, man, be strong enough to foster my healing? Will you be strong enough to create the safe space to allow my true beauty to come out? Will you allow me to love the things about me that maybe I have felt self-conscious of? And so that's not that we have this role of being our wife's healer. We cannot step into the job that Jesus has for her. Okay, we have to, there's a fine line to walk here. On the one hand, if our wife is constantly feeling ashamed or down on herself, that may be her deal, that her unhealth, that has nothing to do with you. You could treat her amazing and she might still have that. On the other hand, you might need to take responsibility for that too, because often how she thinks of herself is a reflection of what she's getting from us. So we need to make sure, what am I portraying to her? What am I bringing to our space that would make her feel ashamed of herself? Am I making her feel like she's not enough in the bedroom? Is my whininess and anger and storming and begging making her feel like she's not enough and ashamed of herself, and actually making it worse because she doesn't feel like she can ever meet my demands? Or am I able to maintain my frame, to step into masculine red pill world? Maintaining frame is such a huge part of being a man in the secular masculinity movement, which I think we need too. Maintaining frame being, no matter what she does, no matter her emotional reactions to things or whatever, I'm going to maintain my manly position. I'm going to maintain my frame. I'm not going to be pushed over by it. I'm not going to be fly off the handle. I'm not going to plummet into despair. I will maintain who I am because of my solid identity. So I'm able to maintain my frame, which is as if I'm this harbor where there's this rock jetty that shelters this harbor, and I allow my wife to become who she needs to be within the safety of my frame. And this is not unlike Jesus and the church. Jesus is all about putting back together the things in us that have been broken. He's all about giving us what we need. Now, he's different because he not only gives us the space, but he also gives us the hands-on working on transformation in us from the inside out, right? But still, he's giving us the ability to rise up into everything we were meant to be. So where we felt ashamed before, like we couldn't let anybody in, like we were too unworthy of being so close and intimate with him, that he allows us to heal, and then we can feel, he says, now come boldly into my throne room. Just like we are saying to our wives, come boldly into my chambers. So much, guys, with this realm, this idea of sexual attraction, it depends on us. How are we conducting ourselves as a man? Are we being attractive? But also, if our wife doesn't feel desirable, if she doesn't feel worthy, if she doesn't feel valued and honored and cherished, that is also a hindrance to her desiring us. So I will say this, gentlemen, there is a minefield waiting to destroy us as we venture to get closer to our wives in this sexual attraction way. And I'm not just talking about the act of having sex. I'm talking about being married day in, day out, night or day, the sexual tension and relationship and dynamic between us. There is a minefield waiting to take us out because we have our own growth. She has her growth. We can get triggered by it. There's our pain, there's her pain. There are many, many ways that we can get attacked in this. But none of it, guys, none of it is bigger than the Holy Spirit living inside of me. None of it is more powerful than the identity that God has implanted in me as a son and as a king. Instead of being intimidated by the minefield, we need to rise to the occasion like we're American Ninja warriors staring at the obstacle course in front of us and saying, I'm going to win. I will get farther than anyone else out here. And the problem, see, this idea that our wife has some pain and she needs to be healed and joyful and free and relaxed in order to be sexually attracted to us, that may not be new to us. But the problem is that we have gone after that from a position of our own inadequacy, our own weakness, our own unworth. And so we come into this as a beggar, begging for crumbs to fall from her table, rather than as a strong, confident man that the virgins would love, who knows where he's going. See, our stance, our frame makes all the difference. I don't know. If I asked for a show of hands, I'm sure I would see him. How many of us have told these things to our wives? You're beautiful. You look amazing. And it just doesn't seem to go anywhere. It doesn't seem to do anything. It doesn't seem to woo her like it would have before. And it's so frustrating. And then we get to thinking, well, it's her fault, not mine. And right here in this chapter, he, the man, is the one saying that. And so we think, well, I'm doing it. But I want to suggest to you that this man is saying this on a foundation that has been laid. He has already established himself up here as a desirable man who other women would be happy to have. He's established himself as a man who is drawing the woman after him. He is on the move somewhere. He knows who he is. He knows where he's going. He's not looking to abandon his life course so that he can all of a sudden make his life entirely all about her and gazing at her forever and wishing that he and she could just stay in the Garden of Eden day in and day out. No, he's healthy. He has things in life that he cares about other than her. And he's established that he's a high value man. And she is fortunate. She's blessed to be invited into where he is. It's on that foundation that that kind of man is now saying this. Behold, you're beautiful. That's a very different story than you and I letting ourselves go, losing sight of life outside of our wives, not having the drive, not having the mission, not having a place, a vision, a place that we're taking her. and then still trying to look her in the eyes and create some romantic moment and say these things and hope that she responds. That's why, if you're in those shoes and you've tried that, that's why it seems to almost work against you rather than for you. It's because they're two very different places to be coming from, two very different frames that we are standing in. This is Matt Hallock signing off and thanking you again for being a part of the Man Warrior King community. If you want more, head over to manwarriorking.com. And please remember to take just a couple seconds to subscribe on iTunes and to leave a 5-star rating and a review so that more and more men can join us as we become awesome. You are a kingdom man. Go out, take more ground, push back darkness. Remember, you bring value into your home, your work, and your circle. You are not a taker, you are a giver. Abundance is your atmosphere.